It's been a while. It's the Lakers Nations Philippines podcast with Zach and Jay and Charlie.
Yep.
We're going to try and cover everything that's been happening the last 15 games since we last posted. So let's start with a thread that Zach, Jay, and I have in regards to Tatum versus Ingram. To paint a picture, what happens is behind the scenes, because Zach is a stand-up comic, and like with my older friends who are like at least 15 to 20-year friends of mine, we bust each other's balls. So Jason and I, though we like Ingram, we'll bust Ingram's balls behind the scenes, and Zach has high faith in Ingram, and we'll say like, hey, yeah, he is, he's really got that Devin George role down pat, or yeah, he's got this potential to be the next Darvin Ham, that kind of thing. So Zach, let's explain first on your end, or if you wanted to add to that.
Well, no, the last comparison actually, he moved on up to Maurice Evans.
Yep. Yeah, he's really worth staying in the league at least 8 years, dude.
So what happened was on Friday night, I was watching the San Antonio Spurs host the Boston Celtics. So it's like two of the top teams in the NBA right now. And I'm watching Jason Tatum, and he's a rookie. He's from Duke. I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like thinking like, dude, he's kind of like Brandon Ingram. Like, I'm watching his style, and I'm like, Jason Tatum's just like Brandon Ingram in a way. And I'm just always thinking like, plus here's the message actually that I sent. The Celtics Spurs game was exciting. Comparing Tatum to Ingram, the case of why he's doing better. Tatum has less expectations and is asked to fit in a role as a player, whereas Ingram was asked to do so much more in just a year older. I honestly think other than that, they are identical players.
Okay. So for me, it's too soon for me to judge. If you see that vision in him, totally get it. I think I don't have internet because I'm in the Philippines, as far as for my data at least, and I got to reserve the internet for our recording. I think if I recall correctly, as I paraphrase myself, I think he might be more like a Paul George, if that's correct, guys, from what I last said.
Yeah.
Right, more like a Paul George. So we're still thinking somewhat congruently, where Zach sees like a lot of star power, right? Like you mentioned, I do believe he was being compared to Durant, and you also said he might be. We're talking about Jason Tatum now. He might be the next Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah,
right. And my response is really similar if you think about it. I think Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are the same players, except Paul George made this tip towards the offensive end, and Kawhi is probably the most balanced between offense and defense. So as an observer, Jay, what do you think about that statement so far, since we have a while to record?
Well, starting with Paul George, Kawhi, it's a little tough because even though Paul George is a good player, solid player, Kawhi Leonard is, I guess, based on the team that he's played on and his coach and all that stuff, he's definitely got the higher pedigree. I mean, he's obviously got the playoff experience, championship experience. He was a Finals MVP, and I do agree with you guys where you says, well, Kawhi is a little bit more, he's focused a little bit more on the defensive side, where Paul George is probably more offensive and ball handling. But I don't know, Kawhi seems to still be like the more complete player in my eyes, and still the premier between those two guys. Tatum and Ingram, I still see them a little bit different. I can see what Zach is saying with regards to the roles that they play on the team, and Ingram is supposed to be the captain and the best player on the Lakers, and that's a big role to fill. Whereas Tatum, he has Kyrie Irving, he had
Jaylen Brown, if you want to say.
Oh, no, I was going to say Gordon Hayward, and the list of veterans, Al Horford and whatnot, just kind of go down the line. And he's just been a lot more proactive in his role, and his talent level he seems to be flourishing in Boston a little bit easier than Ingram had been with the Lakers. But it seems like he's feeling his role. He's kind of maturing into the season and getting used to where his strengths are on the floor, and I see Ingram pushing a little bit more. They're kind of the same, but I still see Ingram as more of a one-on-one player.
Okay,
as opposed to Tatum.
So we're talking about Jason Tatum's rookie year versus Ingram's second year, just to be clear?
Yeah, I think his rookie year was. I don't really remember too much of Ingram's rookie year, or half the year.
If anything, I would say I would want to compare their two rookie years, but like right now, looking at Ingram's second year versus Tatum's first year, they kind of have identical stats. Like Tatum's probably averaging less than the point than Ingram, and also less than the rebound. But I think for the quality games that Tatum has been in thus far, like the Celtics have had more competition thus far in the season than the Lakers.
Okay, so what I was trying to talk about, and I'm going to try to derive off Ingram's first year, right? Because I think that's what I was trying to harp on, because we had D'Angelo. Can we agree on that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So what I was trying to explain, or no, what I was trying not to explain on air versus typing is I just meant like Ingram's first year, he came off the bench. Really, the pressure was on D'Angelo. He was the previous second pick. And Brandon Ingram didn't really improve until I want to say maybe the last 2 months of the regular season. So I do agree with you that in regards to Jason Tatum coming in the rookie year with Gordon Hayward, Kyrie, and Jaylen Brown, it's all off you.
Yep.
I just think in regards to the rookie year, the pressure wasn't there as much for Brandon Ingram anyways. In regards to the second year, yes, you are correct, Zach, because Magic Johnson, one of his key effects as a general manager is he's putting praises and pressure on Lonzo and Ingram. Mm-hmm. And he's the same guy that went on Jimmy Kimmel that really, on my end, I think he messed up really big with Jimmy Kimmel because he was playing with fire in regards to that trade. So these are all Magic Johnson mistakes. So that's the one thing I wanted to say, Zach, because I didn't want to look back and revert and requote you, requote me. But yes, the one thing I will say about Brandon Ingram is if you've showed improvement in the end of your rookie year and the summer league, they shut you down because you had one dope game and they didn't want to risk more injury, it is your duty as the number 2 pick to pick up on that and keep riding that wave of improvement. Because like I remember Jannero Pargo and Kareem Rush, their second year, they tore it up during the summer league and then they fluffed. So that's where I just wanted to re-explain myself.
Yeah. But I also still have belief in Ingram in the sense that like I had to think to myself, like, why do I still care about Ingram? And like, what other comparisons can I draw from? And if anything, I got like 3 players that I want to compare with you guys right now. Paul George's rookie stats. He was on a team that was the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. He averaged around 8 points a game and 3.7, and then they didn't take until his third year to average 18 points and 8 rebounds, and was an all-star and won also most improved that year. The team was the 3rd seed. Giannis Antetokounmpo from Milwaukee. This dude was like not really even seen. He only averaged like 7 points and 4 rebounds. The team only won 15 games that year. And then by the third season, he got 17 points, 9 rebounds. And then by the fourth year, that's when he went balls to the wall and got most improved player. And if you want to say, like, since we brought up Kawhi Leonard, I mean, like, this dude averaged 8 points and 5 rebounds in that lockout season for the Spurs. And then it slowly took him by, like, the fourth season to average, like, around 16 points. But by then, he was already, like, a two-way player. He was already that role player, which is why, I could see Tatum being the next Kawhi. Because when I actually see Jason Tatum, I could see him in a Spurs jersey, not even a Celtics jersey.
Is his defense, guys, that well? I haven't kept up. I've only watched Jason Tatum in highlights.
He's 6'8", and he's supposed to be a small forward, but in the Brad Stevens system, he's a power forward.
Oh, wow.
So he plays really pretty good on the defensive end against thicker.
Yeah, and the best example, anyone wants to watch it, Golden State versus Boston. A lot of people were saying, like, after that game, that was, like, the first time in a long time where they ever seen Golden State play another team's game. And it was, like, a half-court, much slower, more defensive game, and Boston got the better of them at the Garden.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we discussed this in hindsight talk. I would have rather drafted Jason Tatum over Lonzo Ball. If you have Kyle Kuzma, Jason Tatum, and Brandon Ingram...
And then if essentially you would still have D'Angelo, right?
Right, unless if the team was still... Well, you guys heard the audio from Brian Shaw, right? I sent you guys a link. Like Dennis Scott was asking them during practice, like they got caught on audio.
Yeah.
So Brian Shaw was like, yeah, it's just we're glad D'Angelo's gone. I'm paraphrasing. D'Angelo's gone because he was just fucking around.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but still, even if you had, I don't know, Ronnie Price, would that line up with those three? Dude, the perimeter's getting torn up. I mean, I hate to make this an episode or a segment about like hindsight talk, dude. I would love to have Tatum on this team. I'm a Tatum fan.
I am too. And that was one of the things I remember, like, he was one of the first people that I wanted to draft it over Alonzo. And then even though it didn't happen, like, I'm looking at him with the Celtics right now, and I'm just, like, kind of, like, looking outside the window going, what could have been?
Jay, what are your thoughts on Tatum? I knew it seems like you were about to say something anyways.
Yeah, it's a tough thing for me. I think Tatum is a good player. I don't know... to have those three guys on the floor at the same time, Tatum, Ingram, and Kuzma, I feel like, I mean, it sounds good. I just don't know how the chemistry would be on especially on the offensive side, where the ball would go, because I think it's just now that Ingram is kind of finding his spot in the offense. I think more so because Nance came back, and he can kind of pick his spots a little bit better, and Kuzma comes off the bench.
May I, before we send it back to you, Charles, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think if you have Tatum a part of that system, you put him at the 3, Kuzma at the 4, and then you could actually move Ingram to the 2. And since Tatum's a rookie, there's no expectations. Same with Kuzma, there's no expectations. Even though Kuzma had an amazing summer league, like, we could all look at that and just be like, okay, he deserves a shot at playing time and like a shot to like earn himself here in the league. And he's doing really well. So I think after that shitty Philly game that Kuzma had, he only had like 2 points, 1 rebound. Nobody like looked at him and go like, oh, well, he's done. Like, we always thought like he's going to rebound back, which he did the following night. I forgot who they beat again, but like I know he had a double-double. Charlotte, thank you. The thing is like Kuzma, the expectations are low, but anytime he does good, it's just like, holy shit, he's the future, you know?
Yeah, I also think if you have Clarkson, Hart, Tatum, and Randall as your next 4 coming off the bench in your 9-man rotation, that would be so fucking ill, dude. I mean, it's kind of like how Brandon Ingram was nurtured, right? It's like come off the bench, then, you know, once Mr. Bryant over here retires, then we'll start playing you more on the 2 and the 3. But you have a good point, Jay, because it could possibly stun growth, right? Is kind of like part of the context of what you're saying.
Yeah, and the thing is, just looking at Ingram finding his way, and hopefully he continues this kind of play. I don't think his dog in him is as big as Kuzma's, and Kuzma's, you can see it. He wants to be an alpha, and he's an alpha, and he's learning how to just kind of maneuver within the team to pick his spots. But you give him a little bit, he's gonna go for it, and that's something that Ingram, he's kind of shied away from it in my opinion. I think he's just now kind of starting to find his footing, and he knows where he can kind of pick his spots and his moments. But I still feel like the offense kind of it stops for Ingram. And even though he's been successful these last couple games, I feel like there's less of a flow when it's his turn to attack.
Yeah, he's ISO Ingram.
Yeah, as opposed to Tatum, where when I just the little bits that I've seen him, the ball doesn't stop because Kyrie stops the ball and he makes the plays. But Tatum's been finding a way to incorporate himself on the floor and at least take advantage of opportunities that he's been given. So I can't say he's the same, alpha, like, I'm ready to take over the game. But between those three, I would say he's the most willing and the most hungry to take over the ball.
I almost feel like our guys teeter between Tim Duncan alpha and Andrew Bynum pouty. They're not very vociferous. They don't like to speak out. Lonzo Ball wasn't there to help with the fight that happened. And then what's the name of the guard that dribbled around his legs from Denver?
Gary Harris?
No, it was like
not Moutier.
I think he's like a rookie or a sophomore. But anyways, he didn't care either. Yeah. He didn't care either. Like, which to me is a relief in a sense, because like if you didn't care about the fight and you didn't care about a guy dribbling around you when you lost and he was showboating, in a way at least he wasn't like being selfish, right? He's just aloof like that.
Yeah. So it was Gary Harris, by the way.
Oh, Gary
Harris. Okay. So the other thing is, then there's Ingram, who I feel like could be more like a Tim Duncan kind of leader. He's loud, probably in practice, but during the game, he's not going to be like Kobe or T-Mac and be like, "Give me the ball."
Yeah, and I think that also came with time with Duncan, as with regards to him demanding the ball, or it's kind of like, hey, what are you thinking? Like the coach would have to say, what are you thinking? Of course you're going to throw it to Duncan. He's the best player on the floor. And yeah, I hear what you're saying, man, because I like it when players are finding themselves and they want to at least work themselves into a respectful position, as opposed to just, let me showcase everything. In Kuzma's case, I feel like he's kind of good balance because he's a bench player. He doesn't have the expectation that Zach mentioned, and he's also very hungry. He wants to talk to Kobe and all that stuff. So I don't know. I'm really high on Kuzma as opposed to what's the other guys?
Lonzo.
Yeah, Lonzo. I'm like, already.
You're already forgetting his name.
I'm already forgetting his name, dude.
Yeah. So, I might as well use that as a seg. How are you guys with Lonzo right now? Do you buy into the bust thing, or you guys know my opinion? I give the player 2 years.
With his hat. No, I'm joking. I I think he's doing well for what he's doing right now. Yes, he's like averaging what, like, is it 7 assists and 7 rebounds? But the field goal percentage is just horrendous. Like, it's close to 30%, if that. And to see his shot, like, I don't know. Like, you have Brian Shaw as a coach, and he's like probably one of the best Laker shooters of all time. Like, why isn't he helping him with his shot right now? The Lakers may be in the playoff picture, like, for the moment being, but it's just like, find a way to fix that, and who cares about like the future in terms of like you guys making the playoffs? Because even if you guys are in the playoffs, it won't matter. Like, have him work on this now, and that's the important part.
Yeah, I think he's okay. He's met my expectations. I think if anything, he's shown that he can rebound the ball better than I thought. He's also a better shot blocker than I thought. So I guess his defense is a little bit better. I had a feeling he wasn't going to be able to score in this league. I mean, he's had some good scoring games, but on a consistent basis, he's not that. And I question his, I question the dog, his dog, his inner fight. It's just he's passive, like you said, Charles. I mean, he to be the leader, to be the point guard, and I think he still has a ways to learn, and his dad saying that he doesn't need to talk to anybody or whatever, and it's not helping him.
Yeah, and honestly, I see him improving, actually. When they won against Philly, the second game.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's easy to interpret his drive to the basket and pass out to Ingram as that's very, oh, you didn't take the last shot. But I mean, maybe LeBron got the same thing, but LeBron, I'm not comparing him to LeBron. I'm just saying by end of game plays, I thought that was a great move by Lonzo. He shot a boneheaded 3-point shot before that, but that was to get the 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Which I thought was smart. So I think he's learning on his way. Perhaps, I don't know if you guys feel this, but it's just maybe for this era, you need a lot more Rod Strickland drive to the basket instead of just watch and pass or pass and watch.
Yeah. And I think that was because, again, we're not technically comparing him to what LeBron should do. We're technically comparing him to, like, I feel the comparisons that LeBron was getting when he was that young, or even like towards like the 5th year, when he would pass in the crunch time. And it's just like, why, if you're LeBron, you should be taking over the game. And it's like, no, like Lonzo had Embiid step up to him, and as soon as he had him on the pump fake and drove, like, that left Brandon Ingram wide open because the help defense had to drop down, and that was a perfect time for Lonzo to get the assist as a point guard. So I think that was just textbook genius from Lonzo.
Agreed.
Right. I agree too. I think it's just, maybe it's also us wanting him to adjust to this era, because if Lonzo played in the 90s, that's perfect, right? Oh, if Lonzo turned out to be like Mark Jackson, would you guys be happy? Or do you need more?
I think for hype, as far as hype goes, Mark Jackson's not going to get you a championship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed. The hype and the expectation on Lonzo is to be at least just a better threat on the floor on the offensive side. Yes, he has vision. Yes, he's looking for the open player and whatnot. But if he doesn't improve his offensive game, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, all of that stuff, the players will catch on, and he won't. It'll definitely affect his ability to pass and get other assists and other statistics.
Agreed. I guess we're just not arguing today. We're just Kumbaya Sundays in LA and Monday Blues in Philippines for me. We're just all on the same wavelength. Regarding I'm growing an attachment to Randall coming off the bench, guys. Unless if it's LeBron, Paul George, perhaps a combination of Boogie with hypnosis from adjusting his personality. I don't know if I want to sacrifice Randall if it's just for any of those three exceptions.
Wow. Yeah, well, I'm a big Randall fan. Last year I saw him, move up a little bit, especially in his intensity. This year I wanted to see a little bit more consistency with that intensity, and I think we're seeing it a little bit more. I think he's the Luke kind of pushing, cutting his minutes a little bit and getting him a little fire under him, and I think that it's fueling his hunger on the floor, and I'm with you on that, man. I would hate to lose him. I think he's just one of those players that it's hard to match up with him, and he can match up with a lot of bigs on other teams.
Yeah, and the fact that he's been able to average a double-double so far in his career, well, not this season, but the first two seasons, it's been pretty impressive to see him play, and I just know he's going to be a good star player for another team, just maybe not for the Lakers.
Okay, so Dallas and Lakers are rumored to have a proposed trade. It's Seth Curry, Devin Harris, two other unknown players that are also expiring contracts for Dang and Randall. Do you guys pull the trigger?
Yes, because you're getting rid of Dang.
Yeah, I agree too. You got to get rid of that contract.
We might as well jack each other's off across fucking the internet right now, dude.
Well, okay, so if in other words, it's because we've already kind of came to the conclusion before the season even started that we're not going to be able to afford Randall, especially for what, and as he continues to play well, he's going to demand just a bigger contract, and why wouldn't he go after that money? So I mean, the reality of it is that if you could get rid of that dang contract, then you do it. Even at the expense of losing and improving Randall, you just got to do it, especially if you're going for home runs this summer.
Okay. So I agree with you. Zach, do you have anything to add to that? Because I can't contradict right now.
Nope.
No? Okay. Okay, so let me spin some of this for you guys then. Zach had... on our thread, I told him, if fantasy time, who do you want on the Lakers by 2019? And Zach came up with a lineup of Kyrie and Klay coming to LA, which I would love that. I personally feel Kyrie is the most unrealistic out of the two, but you never know, right?
Right.
So who do you give up then if it's come trade time to get both? Wait, if Golden State, if Golden State said, Zach,
yeah,
or whichever team, if for Kyrie, if Boston said, you give us Lonzo, you give us Brandon Ingram, we'll give you Kyrie. Let's do a sign and trade.
Well, no, they're expiring contracts. In 2019, they'll be free agents. So I could see Klay, because again, I agree with you on Kyrie being the most unrealistic, but with Klay, he could probably be you know what? I've won enough rings. It's time for me to chase the money now. And what better team to go to than my dad's former team, for the Lakers. He could be calling my games. With Kyrie, I mean, Boston's a nice market, but it gets cold. The dude is in dire need of having this bigger brand, and what better place to come to than LA?
The only reason why I wouldn't agree with just the signing, it depends on who's on our contract still, right? And
right.
At least if we trade for Kyrie, we get his bird rights. That's the only reason why I'm bringing that up, money wise. But let's say it was a situation, and this goes to both you guys. If it came down to that, we get Kyrie, but you give up Lonzo and Brandon Ingram.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, like, because you're also spitting that lineup of like, oh, okay, we have Kyrie, Clay, and then Brandon Ingram and Kuzma.
Yeah.
That would be sick, and that would be the thing that like to look forward towards the future, you know. And
well, Kuzma is the Ingram insurance.
Yep.
It's like, you know, I was already ready to give that up for Paul George. So you tell me Kyrie Irving instead of Paul George, I'm a flat earther, dude. Like, that's it.
Done.
Yeah.
I mean, no, like I would love to get Paul George, but at the same time, it's just like, how could you say no to Kyrie? Because like Paul George, I'm sorry, like it's just like I haven't seen much production from him in the terms of like team and then also individual. Like with Indiana, like it was just they didn't even make the playoffs, right? Or no, they made the first round and they got eliminated. And then now he's coming over to OKC and he's not him. Russell Westbrook and Carmelo are not able to gel, and I know Laker fans are enjoying that because they want to see the OKC Thunder self-destruct so that way they could get one of the two players. But the thing is like at the same time you also have to have like that alarm going off in your head going like, wait, is it really them or is it them as an individual? You know, is it like this team can't gel because it's like three scores, or is it because like maybe all these guys are prone to lose and they're just cursed?
Well, let me compliment Jay's point. I think he's really complimenting your point too, Zach. If what Jay's saying, correct me, Jay, if I'm wrong. I think what Jay's saying is, if I'm willing to give up Brandon Ingram for Paul George, why not Kyrie?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying, Jay?
Yeah, absolutely. This was also summertime, so this is pre-draft and everything. I was already willing to give up the draft pick and Brandon Ingram. I was teetering in the summertime. I was like, oh, we don't have to give up Brandon Ingram, but I'm willing to give up this draft pick for Paul George. And now that it's materialized into Lonzo Ball, even let's just say he even has a good year to finish. You know, he improves his shooting percentage to 40%. And 3-point percentage is, you know, closer to 30%. Then and eight assists, I'd still do it.
Yeah, I know him. I keep harping on giving players 2 years, but I would take advantage of that in a heartbeat. I know what you're saying, Zach. Why not find a way to keep Brandon Ingram at the 3 and Clay at the 2, and then Kuzma at the 4? With Kyrie at the 1. Oof.
Yeah.
And if you find a way to keep Randall at the 5 closing minutes, I would not be mad at that.
Well, we would probably trade him for Karl Anthony Towns anyways.
Ooh. Well, I don't know if it's correlation, but he was the one fighting for pot in the NBA, and this lazy fucking Dominican dude just can't get enough of relaxation, dude, and now Tibbs is wearing off on him, dude. What's up with that, dude? Is that a case of just him being lazy? Because he has a good team behind him now.
I think it's tantrum. Like, I think because the ball's not going to him as much as it was last year. And Wiggins needs to get his. Butler needs to get his. Heck, freaking, if you want to say it, like, Taj Gibson and Jamal Crawford need to get theirs too, you know? And the thing is like, were you the one that sent the article?
Yeah.
So, like, when I was reading that article, it's just, like, you could see that the team, like, is separated because Tibbs likes to be heavy on the star minutes. The rest of the players that are on the bench would like to get some minutes. So it's just a whole division, and they're looking at Karl Anthony Towns saying, well, he's not hustling, you know? The dude is just, like, wants the ball more, but he's not willing to play the defense and be rewarded for it.
Yeah, I think that's also a kind of a nod to Tibbs too. I mean, he's been known to like overwork players, especially like, you know, practice and defense, and it's important. No doubt, you know, the defensive side is important, but you have a player like Towns, and I don't care who you are. I mean, you have to find a way to humble yourself enough to keep this guy happy, because you remove Towns from that team and they're barely a playoff team.
Yeah, and I personally feel you have to do that more, Jay. That's a really good point, because it's harder for bigs to play in this era, I feel. Unless if they just give them the Joel Embiid treatment, where it's like, you know what, man, it's all you.
Yeah, and in my opinion, he deserves that.
Yes.
I think he has the ability, and he's the guy that's gonna make that team be a contender, because Wiggins is you know, to use your example, is looks like he's really more passive in a Tim Duncan kind of way. Even if he has the ability, he doesn't have a imposing will on the game the way Towns or maybe even Butler can do.
Your thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, no, I to go off what Jay said about Wiggins, like I see a lot of flaws for him being actually the older player in the league than Karl Anthony Towns. Like, first off, his free throw percentage is horrendous, and that's actually deterring him from driving to the lane more. And on top of that, defensively, like I would think like by now he's taken some lessons from Jimmy Butler. No, like it's just defensively for Tibbs' team that is supposed to be defensive. Like it's actually been Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns both slacking on the defensive end. So it's kind of hard to play defense if only 2 or 3 of the guys are playing it.
Yeah, and you know, Minnesota, I thought a lot of people were mistaken for not fearing Minnesota. Jamal Crawford is great off the bench, right? Yeah. You know, even though it's a very small amount of watching time, I remember asking you guys, dude, when did Taj Gibson develop a 3-point shot? I don't get this. People develop a 3-point shot during the offseason, and I was just like, dude, this is a legit threat. But I guess you just can't beat chemistry. And I don't know, maybe it's too lofty, but I'd love to get like Karl Anthony Towns on the Lakers, dude.
Do you think it's the Tibbs Butler thing? I know Butler was a big fan of Tibbs. He had his best season under Tibbs also. Do you think that's affecting the relationship of the team chemistry? Just those guys being closer and having
could be
pass. Yeah,
like
could be because I think Jimmy Butler has a very harsh personality, as we pointed that out like on Jimmy Kimmel, right? He was like a hard guest to deal with, super hard. And then now you got Jimmy Butler with Tibbs. It's like, come on, big man, run. It's like, dude, if you're the star player and you're like, sorry, Zach, about your generation. You need to, you know, encourage the younger one to like, hey, you got to run more, smoke less weed, play better. We're in Minnesota, relax, you know. So yeah, great point, Jay. Fantastic point.
Did you see when Taj Gibson chucked up that full court shot at the buzzer and then he missed it? Okay, so he chucked a full court at, like, it was to go into halftime, but like he just took a stab at like a full court shot and he missed it. And then, like, ironically, the camera cut to Jimmy Butler's face as he's like standing at half court, and he looks at Taj Gibson. And you could just read the lips out of his mouth. He goes like, "What the fuck was that?"
It was a Kobe Bryant to Mike Brown kind of look, huh?
Yeah, it was like that. But yeah, I think Jimmy Butler and like Taj, anyone that's like a former alum of like the Tibbs system, I think like those players, especially Jeff Teague, I would even throw him in there even though he never was with Tibbs. Like, he's a defensive minded point guard. I think these guys already get it, instead of just a matter of like getting the younger guys to fall away. Yeah,
that's going to be interesting to watch, because if you think this Marc Gasol stuff created like trade rumors, imagine if Karl Anthony Towns is available. I mean, ooh. Right. Yeah. Exactly. But it seems like we have a time ticking bomb right on the timer for recording. So I'll try to move a little faster. Sorry, guys. In regards to, let's say we trade Deng and Randall, right? We clear cap space that way. is Nerlens Noel and LeBron James enough to attract Paul George?
Yeah. I think Paul George will go where LeBron goes. Well, especially if it's the Lakers. I think he'll come to the Lakers even faster, and willing probably even to take less money. If LeBron comes and then maybe you can get somebody else like I don't know, Nerlens Noel. I don't know what kind of salary that guy generates.
It'd probably be old school mid level, like $5 million at this point, man.
5 to 8, something like that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, he would. I guess he would be the Randall replacement, coming off the bench. But Zach, I want you to answer that question too. Do you think that would be enough to bring Paul George?
You just need to say LeBron. Fuck Noel. I mean, that dude, that's like comparing if Jordan was talking to, I don't know, like Vlade Divac in the 90s of where to go. Because
right.
like Noel is like not proven yet. Like I just think like he's taken a huge step back from like what we saw, like the glimpses of like stardom in Philly when he was a rookie or maybe his sophomore year. But he's been injury plagued. Like even right now, he's injury plagued. So the fact that like, oh, Noel is a bargaining chip to get Paul George to come here. It's like, bitch, like it's LeBron's agent who he happens to be signed under. Like that's the bargaining chip.
Okay. So I guess Paul George and LeBron James wouldn't be too bad, but I flip-flop. I openly admit on the podcast I flip-flop about this, and I know this guy's a knucklehead, and I've said it before. But wouldn't the lineup be better if it was DeMarcus Cousins, Kyle Kuzma, LeBron James, Brandon Ingram, and Lonzo Ball?
Oh.
Versus wherever you plug in Paul George and,
Well, I would say yes. Because you got players playing in their, well, aside from Ingram, who's probably more comfortable at the 3, but you have essentially players playing at their natural position. I even think, with a team like that, maybe Ingram, you can even have him come off the bench, just to keep natural positions. Either that or you have Kuzma come off the bench with LeBron starting at the 4. I just think like there might be just too much of a good thing there.
Yeah, I think for how many ball facilitators you actually have in that lineup, I could see a lot of them being greedy of wanting to have the more assists. You know what I mean? Like I could see like LeBron just going like, "No, I want the ball," and then like DeMarcus is like, "No, I want the ball. I want to pass the ball," which is ironic. But I don't know. Like anytime someone says like, "Do you think DeMarcus can be on a championship team?" I always think no, because this dude is like the biggest buffoon there is in the league.
So you would think, Zach, let's say the opportunity is immediately there and we can't pass it up to get Paul George and DeMarcus, and then LeBron is playing his LeBron, oh, court me game. You would pass on that?
No, if it has to get LeBron and like DeMarcus is a necessary step, then yeah, I would say get him.
But this situation I'm painting is it's looking like 100% Paul George and DeMarcus, but it's 100% Paul George and 50% LeBron. Do you wait? We're not even.
Oh,
sure.
You mean like you had to pick between? Okay, so I get what you mean.
For sure, DeMarcus, 50% LeBron, and it's like DeMarcus and Paul George are like, we'll sign right now.
I have to go 50% LeBron.
Wow. So I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I'm assuming you're on the DeMarcus Paul George train, Charles.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I guess my follow-up question to that is, who do you go after, assuming you have an equal opportunity to get either one of them. Is it Kyrie or LeBron?
Oh, what drama would that bring, dude? Shit. That's a great question. I would probably go with Kyrie. Bye, Lonzo. Bye, Lonzo. And you know what? And you know what? Keep it real time. Like, not even Lakers Nation style. Like, I admire what LeVar's been doing as a father, but it's irritating me as a Lakers fan.
Yeah.
It's irritating, dude. I can't handle this, dude. It's like you're not giving your sons to breathe.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is I'm on the same. I have to agree with Charles. I would go Kyrie, but that would tick LeBron off because I just sent that article before the podcast started about like how he bought a Brentwood home for $23 million. So like I think it could be possible that he's wanting to like make a LA a residence soon.
But he already has a home here, right? So,
second home.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming he's gonna sell the other one. I don't think he's gonna keep both of them.
Yeah, but it's just like the fact that you do $23 million in a place that's like it's suspicious for you to buy a $23 million home and then like not even be there most of the season, especially if you play for like I don't know, like if he does go to Philly the following year, or if he goes to New York, you know.
My thing would be that okay, he wants to be in entertainment. He's already doing that kind of stuff. So that would be the immediate reason for okay, I just want to have a residence in LA because it's gonna be all the stuff that I'm doing for on the entertainment side, and that would be fine. I honestly think that Lonzo and LeBron they can't be on the same team because LeBron needs a point guard that can make the open shot. And even though Lonzo is willing to pass and be a secondary player, he doesn't without that threat of making the open shot. I don't think LeBron wants to play with him.
And plus, we know how like short fused LeBron is with rookies.
Exactly,
like, he wants veterans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we kind of saw that with Kobe and Steve Nash, right? Where they went like on a 12-4 winning streak when Kobe handled the ball, and then Steve Nash was like the outside shooter. Mm-hmm. So and Lonzo doesn't have that consistent shot. I mean, based off like under 30 games from what we've seen, though I think he can improve. I honestly feel Lonzo has room to improve with his shot. It's just with the mechanics. If he can't make an outside shot, boy, he's got to drive to the basket.
Get some ups, build that strength so that he can take the contact going to the hoop. Exactly.
Yeah, and in regards to LeBron buying a home for $23 million, it's not going to go to waste if you're not with the Clippers or the Lakers. I feel it's not. It's just. You know what, man? This is hustle zone. This is the off season. I'll go to UCLA, play with the Lakers, play with UCLA, the SC kids, and it's happened for like with Kevin Garnett having a home. I know Jay and I off mic at that time we were like, yeah, he has a home in Malibu,
right?
So I'm not using that as a factor, but I mean, I can see how it's used as a factor, but. There's probably a lot more basketball stars that have homes in LA, albeit an off-season home or just an ancillary, my other diamond, kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. Like Garnett had a home over the summer because of the Drew League. Like he'd always go down to Compton and like play in the Drew League, and he was one of the reasons why he grew so much. But again, like just to me, like I don't think Garnett had a $23 million home.
He wasn't getting LeBron money though.
No, but still, like for him to put that much money, like how much do you really think a home for LeBron? Like, isn't Kobe's home? Didn't he sell a home recently in Newport? Like Kobe's?
I know it was for sale. I don't know if he ended up selling it.
But even then, like I don't even think the price for Kobe's mansion was like as much as like what LeBron put down on that Brentwood home.
But Kobe doesn't have LeBron money either, man.
Right. LeBron is ahead of the endorsement and salary curve in regards to Kobe. You should have just fucking spent $5 million in Alhambra and get good, delicious fucking Chinese food, dude. Save fucking $18 million, dude.
Nah,
that's what I would have done.
I mean, maybe if you wanted to go that route, he'd have to cut it down to about $15 million and be up in Arcadia somewhere.
The fucking Chinese Beverly Hills and
right.
Get all the soup dumplings you want. Dumbass. Dummy. You don't know anything, dude. It's all on the east side, dude.
You got to deal with all those fires out there where he bought.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'll just ask it off mic how you guys are doing. But yeah, last topic. I know we're running out of time. Sorry, guys. How's Luke doing? Were you guys ever frustrated with his rotations? Do you think, as I paint the scape for you guys, do you think he's also a sophomore coach, so we got to give him more time? I was never frustrated with Luke. I thought you have to give him time. Classic example is Zoe closed out the Philly game, and he did the right play, and then he didn't close out the Charlotte game, and he gave Clarkson all the playing time. So I think he's improving as a coach, and I'm happy with him.
Yeah, I agree. My only critique is play Kuzma more. But other than that, I just hope that the front office is more patient with him because I just read this ESPN article about how he has the tutelage. Like his dad is Bill Walton. He played under Phil Jackson, and he was the assistant coach with Steve Kerr, so he knows what to do. He's adapted in so many sport or like decades of basketball that he like is has a high basketball IQ.
Yeah, I'm not really too frustrated with him. I thought if I was frustrated with him in any sense of the during the season so far, it was maybe playing Lonzo too much. I mean, I understand what he had to do, but it's like he's not doing anything in the fourth quarter. Why is he in the game? Why don't you put Clarkson? Do you want to win, or is this just about Lonzo? That was my criticism earlier in the season. I like how he's been using Josh Hart and whether or not that's just Hart stepping up and playing better, or it's just how he's utilized during the game. But I think you're getting the most of production out of him. I mean, I'm not too mad at the rotations as they are right now.
Cool. Sounds good. Till the next episode, probably a little bit after when Kobe has his ceremony at Lakers, or maybe during January, during the new year, we'll record a new one. If that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's Zach, Jay, and Charlie signing off for the Lakers Nation Philippines podcast. Thanks.